Hello everyone, I'm Ryson Sinek, and today we're going to be talking about science. Yay science! Particulars is a physics-based puzzle game, where you control an elementary particle and solve increasingly complex puzzles and challenges. It was developed by See-Through Studios and published by Surprise Attack. Particulars is the first game on my little show to go through a period on Steam's Early Access program, though it is currently in full release. I personally like early access as a concept, but I'm a little skeptical about the practice. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to talk about Particulars, and here's the story. Particulars follows the story of this woman, Allison, as she struggles with what I believe is crippling depression. Now, when I was talking last time, I said I couldn't really talk about schizophrenia because I don't really know anything about it. But I feel I can safely talk about depression, having lived with it for quite some time now. And namely, I can say that depression, putting it mildly, is a rough road. Allison spends most of the story retreated away and not talking to people, cutting herself off from those she cares about, like her father or her closest friend. This seems to have been going on for quite a while, until she gets a letter saying that something is in a storage facility. The thing is a large simulation machine, and from there we learn Allison's story. Allison's story is told in bits, small pieces, little phrases or sentences that Allison remembers from her life. We learn that Allison is a scientist, a genius-level physicist with a focus on subatomics, and that this machine is her passion project. Each phrase is told to you at the beginning of a level. It's occasionally a hint at how the level might work, or maybe what you'll expect, but it's likely just a piece of Allison's life. And after a chunk of levels, you are treated to a glimpse of Allison's current life, in a brief, mostly wordless cutscene. The story is really the directing force of the game, with the themes of the chapters moving the puzzles along. Gameplay consists of controlling your little subatomic particle and trying to complete the given task, whatever that task is. Sometimes it's get to a location, sometimes it's survival for a prolonged period of time without exploding, sometimes it's cause all the collisions and explosions possible. The progression from one level to the next causes a slow increase in difficulty, with one level asking for very precise movement, while the other one really just asks for you to remember how the controls work and what particles cause what other particles to explode. The controls are kind of interesting. Your particle is affected by all forces currently active, just like all the other particles, but you can fight against those forces by moving of your own will. The end result is while you have very tight control over your movement, you are affected by everything around you, making some actions feel very floaty, like you are not entirely controlling all movement and the particle will move without your input. It's a very effective physics simulator, giving you an understanding of how things might act at a subatomic level. If you require extremely precise movement, and the game calls for very precise movement, you can slow the action down to a crawl, and control every action you make at a very reduced speed. This allows you to make movements and changes in direction you simply cannot make at normal speed, but there is a cost. Mostly it goes kind of like this. Come on. Come on. Come on. It can get frustrating. Now, while you are slowed down, you can click on various things to get some reminders. Need to know what that thing over there is? Well, bring up the info screen. Turns out it's an up quark. And now here is where things get really cool. Do you know what an up quark actually is? Particulars is more than willing to teach you how it works in-game and how it actually works in subatomic physics. This game delivers on an interesting story, compelling gameplay, and rounds it out with, hey, maybe you'll learn something. The actual in-game actions might give you a more than shaky understanding about how subatomic particle physics works, but if you really want to learn more, you might want to include reading the encyclopedia given in-game. Now, I barely read the encyclopedia, but now I have a better understanding of strong force and weak force. For one, I now understand that there's a strong force and a weak force, and they are both very weird. There is another very nice addition to this game. You can skip levels. While it is certainly better to complete the levels presented to you, sometimes you just want to move on. And this game gives you a skip level button that you can just press when you are done with that puzzle. I mean, don't use it too much, these puzzles are really satisfying to complete, but sometimes you just gotta call it and pull the chute. Musically, this game is mostly simple ambience, with calm music that mostly fades into the background. It's pleasant, non-obtrusive, and provides just the right amount of atmosphere without getting in the way. The credits theme is really nice, and I kind of wish I could get a hold of it to listen to sometimes. That's not all there is to say about sound, though. The voice acting is good, with Allison's voice actor giving voice to most of the people. Makes sense, as we are combing through her memories. The voice work is more than solid, as she conveys ranges of emotions. But there are the occasional misstep, with some lines sounding a little unusual, mostly in just a strange delivery. The sound effects are very good. The noises sound very solid or real. You feel these impacts from their sound. And the background and ambience noises in the cutscenes work very well. Visually, the game is mostly very simple, shown with colors, circles, lines, all very simple and uncomplicated, which is good, as this game will ask you to identify things moving very quickly. Each particle is distinctive in color or shape, with other hints and visual clues showing what particle is needed to solve a particular puzzle. Also, I'm not really sure what to call the visual style of the cutscenes, but it does a very good job of conveying the necessary emotions without being overly detailed. Now it's time for Up Quark, Down Quark, Strange Quark, and Charmed Quark. Charmed? Charmed doesn't really work for bland, guys. Sorry. For the good, I've got to say the story. This story works so well. It would probably work decently well if it was just told as a straightforward story, but it unfolds over the course of play. You feel like each puzzle is you finding another piece of Allison's life. Who she is, and what makes her tick. She is a very interesting character, and by the end she feels like a very hurt, very real person. Particulars brings out some very real emotions, and it does so in a way that makes it feel like a very integral part of the game. Even if it is separated slightly from actual play, the theme of the character and what she's going through is reflected in the gameplay. For the bad, I'm going to have to say the slowdown function. Its problems are shown in the overall design of the game. When the game is going at its normal rate, everything on screen is relevant and needs your attention. But when you slow down, menus start to pop up. Now this is fine when you need those menus, but when the only thing you need is to go at the problem slower, those extra menus are just clutter. Yes, you can now see what happens when you add a positive Higgs to a down quark, but right now you need to be able to see the quark to be able to do this to them. And really, I don't need to know what charge I have right now. Thank you. The strange is really this whole concept. Like, who thought of this? Let's take 1 part heartbreaking story, 2 parts particle physics, 1 cup puzzle gameplay, and throw in some education for flavor. Blend till smooth. When it's broken down like that, it kind of makes you pause and go, who thought of this? Yeah, I'm kind of phoning in the strange on this one. But everything was kind of really tight. Nothing really stuck out, you know? But it was like they set out to make a puzzle game with an interesting story and a novel concept, and then went, hey, we can learn a few people with this one. And if that's the case, I think we need more of these games in the world. The bland is the lack of a sandbox mode or custom level creator. Now I understand that this game is running on a fairly limited budget, but it seems like adding a small sandbox mode would not be too hard and would further the educational aspect of this game. Just a large blank area with a bunch of generators and no goal. Let the player go nuts for a while and play with the rules set up by the game. Maybe make it an unlock for completing the story. To bring it all around, this game provides solid storytelling, interesting gameplay, and a cool education tool. I could see a parent using this game to teach a child about how particle physics works, but the story makes that difficult as it might hit a kid kind of hard. But if you enjoy high-speed puzzle games, then I highly recommend this one. Particulars is available on Steam and the Humble Store for $14.99. Till next time, I'm Ryson Sinek, and I'm gonna go make sure all the particles still work.
Yep.